Okay, so this is Dr. Strombeck at Granite Bay Regenerative Medicine, and I'm here with Beverly. Now, Beverly, not too long ago, maybe, what are we about, maybe 8, 10 weeks out, you came in for some regenerative medicine, some stem cell injections in your right knee. Why don't you tell me just a little bit about, how, what were you feeling then? What were you maybe told some options for your knee pain was?
When I came in, the only option that I was aware of was going to be knee replacement,
Mm-hmm.
which, if that had happened, would have followed a hip replacement that I already had. And I really wasn't looking forward to the knee replacement.
Right.
So I was looking for alternative ways to get back on my feet. I
Yeah.
had found it difficult to even walk across the room, um, doing what the therapists call wall walking, holding on to something if you're not using a walker.
Right. Okay.
And so I just didn't want the surgery.
Right.
And I saw something about regenerative medicine,
Yeah.
and I started doing my research. And I realized that all of the major teaching hospitals are involved in the research.
Yeah.
Stanford, Hopkins, Mayo, even
Yeah.
Davis. And the FDA is holding back on giving approval.
Sure.
And I have my reasons why they're doing this. I
Uh-huh.
won't go into that. But having come in and sat through the seminar that was presented here
Mm-hmm.
at this location, I decided to just jump in and do it.
Good. Wonderful.
And I'm happy with it.
So what have your results been? You say that it was hard for you to walk, even just short distances, and kind of sometimes holding on to the wall. What would you say? What is it? What does a day look like for you now?
I can be on my feet again without the use of the cane or canes, because I was using two sometimes, for 6 hours,
Wow.
doing cooking, canning, whatever I do when it's just the daily chores, where before it was do a little bit, sit down, do a little bit, and sit down
Right.
again.
Right.
And I've always been active, and this broken pattern was very aggravating.
Right. Right.
So I'm moving on. I had my injection, I think it was in March 8th.
Mm-hmm.
We are at the end of August, and I've got now to where I'm on my feet, walking up to 2 miles a day, and my
Wow.
little Apple Watch keeps track of my steps.
That's fantastic.
So it's opened my life back to me
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. And without going through, the operation and the recovery of that as well, right?
Yeah, because I had been told, for one thing, the knee surgery was more difficult to recover from than the hip surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But both still give a lot of restrictions on your flexibility,
Right.
picking things up off
Sure.
the floor, whatever
Sure.
you're doing. So,
Well, and you're quite the accomplished hiker. You know these Sierras pretty well. Now, wasn't I? If correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it one of your goals is you wanted to get back to getting back to hiking a little bit and out in your outdoors? Have you had an opportunity to do a little of that?
I have been able to go fishing again and walk
Wonderful.
downhill to a lake and walk back uphill.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting out into the outdoors again and seeing the elk and seeing the antelope and watching the osprey
Yeah.
fishing. It's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stepping backwards in time and doing some of the older primitive things that I find enjoyable, and I can
Yeah.
do that again now.
That's wonderful. So, would you recommend this procedure to any of your friends or anyone you know?
I have recommended this program to so many people. My son tells me I need to be on the public relations staff. So,
That's great.
it's working for me. I do have a friend that plans on coming in. He was injured in a car accident several years ago
Mm-hmm.
and was in recovery for about a year. So he is seriously thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we'll get him in here.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so pleased with the results that you've gotten, and it's going to only continue to get better as the months go on here.
I think so too, and the fact that I could see a knee today instead of a swelling was a big plus.
Yeah, in fact, you mentioned that you can see your kneecap again.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, it doesn't sound like a biggie, but it's as good as a diamond at this point.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing with people. It's always nice to hear from somebody else other than, a doctor's, point of view as far as the results. So it's always nice, but thank you so much.
You're welcome.